Asher steps back onto the field in a moment of crisis for coastal California. Not to return to the game, but to say goodbye to it so he can focus on his family and create the family for his son that he never had as a child. Olivia turns down her book deal after her publisher insists she include details about her dad's affair, potentially pumping the brakes on her career trajectory, but also probably opening the door to something new and, ultimately, more fruitful. When Layla tries to plan a surprise wedding ceremony after she feels Jordan pulling away from planning, it almost feels like she's reverting back to a version of her old self. That is, until Jordan meets her with empathy and understanding, and she's able to understand that she's being triggered by her parents' relationship. They work through the speed bump and call off the last-minute nuptials in one of the most deeply moving scenes of the entire episode. That was the one scene in the episode that I remember telling NK. It came out fully formed in my head. That was one of those scenes I didn't have to block or plan. I was like, oh, I know exactly how this scene should be, Ezra said. The most important thing to show was how far they've come. They're way more communicative. They really approach problems as a unit and as a family, and all that is a result of the work from the previous season. That is true for all the characters, not just Jordan and Layla. And while Ezra was the perfect choice to direct, having Layla, who began as a production assistant on the series, co-write with Carol also seemed like a no-brainer. I feel like I've grown up with the show, she said, as Carol pointed out that Layla used to drive the golf cart to take Ezra to lunch. Carol adds that it felt only right, it should be a full circle moment. Having both been there since the beginning, Carol and Layla said there was no limit to the ideas they had for this episode. The toughest part was the stuff we had to lose, Carol lamented. Everything in that script felt like it needed to be there. Maybe one day audiences will get to read what Carol called a beautiful scene that no one will ever see, written by Layla, featuring the main characters, which was part of the motivation for the turning point in the championship game. In some ways, making tough decisions on what to cut has been the story of the season, as Season 6's original 13-episode order was a significant reduction from the show's previous 20-episode orders the writers are used to. This season was recently greenlit for 2 additional episodes, expanding the season from 13 to 15, in order to allow the writers to better flesh out the story and build toward a satisfying conclusion for this season. So far, there's been no word on Season 7. I asked for those 2 episodes, Carol told Deadline. In this particular chapter of the story, I was like, there are a couple more stories that, in a perfect world, I wish I had room to tell. The 2 additional episodes allowed Carol to both expand upon stories that she felt needed more room to breathe in the second half of the season, as well as open up some new threads that couldn't fit in a 13-episode season. With a championship under Spencer's belt, all signs point to the draft coming next, though Carol remains tight-lipped on what's still to come. There's also still, presumably, a wedding in Layla and Jordan's future. Whatever's in store, Carol warns, from now to the end, I'd say maybe just keep a box of tissues nearby.